For watching my video. Just a few reviews on video here of the build details. I'll start with the front of the airplane, where you'll be able to appreciate the slight twist in the fuselage that I talked about during construction and how to hopefully avoid that. I like to use model plane foam for the fuselage as well as the canopy. It's easier to sand and it's easier to mold. Coming on down the airplane, here's my lurks extension, and I like to bevel this from the bottom straight to the top of the lurks to divert more flow over the lurks, and I think it improves its aerodynamic performance as to how it's designed. Coming on down the wing, you can see I've got what I call the SAS, the simple aerodynamic symmetric shaped wing, and I've tapered the posterior edge so it no longer is a airfoil. My goal design is to make a symmetric wing. I just like how symmetric wings fly, and this was pretty easy to shape. This is dollar store foam on the top and bottom. Coming on back here, you can now see my spoilerons, my shortened ailerons. I'll move it up for you. See, well, I've got the airplane on so I can't move it, but you can see how it's shortened in size. Here's a view of the more scale appearing vertical stabilizer with the true vertical rudder, and then I've got the smaller elevons on the back. It gives the airplane a very nice, clean, stock appearance, looks more scale. I glass the leading edges, the hinges, and then on the vertical stabilizers on this plane, because I'm running the NTM prop drive, I went ahead and glassed the inner surface of the vertical stabilizer and the leading edge, and then the tail plate I went ahead and glassed top and bottom as well as leading edge, and it is incredibly stiff. For the side plates, I also glassed the side plate on both sides all the way up to about the carbon spar. Let me go ahead and turn the plane over and show the servo setup on the bottom. For this plane, I wanted it to go fast, so I did not want any servos, control rods within the thrust vectoring channel coming out the back of the airplane. So I went to a complete outboard servo setup, and what I did is I started in the back with the elevon servo, and it takes the most force, so I've mounted it directly over the carbon rod to decrease any twisting. And then next servo is the rudder, followed by the aileron servo at the front. The other thing I do on my planes is I like to put a little piece of wood dowel here, which is just a barbecue skewer for my CG, so it's easy to find in the field. And there you can see the servo setup. The elevons, I'm using 3mm carbon rod with the Dubro rod epoxy down the center. That's because I ran out of 2mm carbon rod, and I like to do a little Z-bend in the front. I don't have to drill out the servos. It makes it easy to change. I used to do the wire on the back side of the control rod going into these linkage stoppers, but I've had several of those slip on the small wire, so I've moved away from that. And that's why I try to have my rod straight as possible. Even if I have to, I'll do my control horn a little bit bent and not truly perpendicular to the control surface line, because I don't like bends on my control rods. And there you can see the rudder servo set up. A few extra holes that E3 Scott puts in his planes for airflow, and I put those in here as well because this plane may run hot. Got a big ESC in there, and I'm running 8-channel receiver. We'll go through the motions here of my flight controls. So, elevon, aileron, and then I went ahead and also added in speed brakes. I'll show those deploy. So they deploy straight out. And I did that on my gear channel with the mix. It just, for me, it made sense. And then my spoilerons I have on a 2-second deployment, and I found that you don't need much spoileron. That's low, and then that's high. And I'll probably change that over to a flap deployment rather on the second notch, the second setting rather than the second spoileron. And I think this does help decrease tip stall during high alpha. Well, thank you very much for watching the video, and there'll be a maiden video posted soon as the weather clears up.